And you also said something earlier about the Jan Sixers, to where you said that nobody on the right spoke up. Are you saying like the right influencers, or are you
And
just
the media,
saying?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Because I'm like there were people that spoke up, but it's just not anybody who's in the prevalent media, which is again the issue. So yeah, that's my big issue. But I guess my first
Do you
question.
know the
to you-
differences between somebody who adamantly votes for Trump and somebody who reluctantly votes for Trump?
What?
There's none.
In this video, a MAGA voter completely folds after Destiny exposes his delusional takes. Destiny goes straight for the contradiction at the heart of modern MAGA politics. He's not even debating policy at first. He's just breaking down the empty posturing of reluctant Trump voters, who, in the end, just cast the same ballot as the extremists they claim to distance themselves from. The guest admits that right-wing influencers stay silent on January 6th, and Destiny just doesn't let that slide. He drills into how cowardly that silence is, the media apathy, and the lack of accountability from anyone close to the Trump base. This isn't just disagreement, it's a surgical teardown of denial dressed up as moderation. So make sure to watch till the end to see how a MAGA voter folds after Destiny exposes his delusional takes.
I think that's
I don't
the
know about
issue. Is
that.
there's like I'll find a lot of these people who are like, oh, I don't know, I don't fully support it. Like at the end of the day, a vote is a vote. It all gets counted up the same way. So I mean, it doesn't really matter if he still has support. Like Donald Trump is an extremely unhinged, like quasi-fascist, like just an unbelievable person, and I can't imagine what it would be like to even reluctantly vote for somebody like that. Like something is so broken, I think, with the concept of America right now, if that's the case. But so I don't know when people are like, well, there's not like the most extremist supporters of this guy who, is extorting law firms all over the country and openly bragging about it, is installing terrorists on islands that are only inhabited by penguins, is deporting people without due process gleefully in the middle of the night, has hired an anti-vaxxer as the head of the agency. Like, I mean, there's like a billion different things you can say. And it's like, well, yeah, but Kamala was woke.
Well, I don't think that's the only issue. I think there was a lot of people's issue, to where the issue with Kamala, that at least I heard, was that there wasn't like a consensus around her to put her as the primary. There was not a primary for her. She just kind of was the front runner, just suddenly.
Yeah, but nobody believes that. Nobody actually cared about that.
I don't know about nobody. I think
They
nobody.
didn't, because
I
if they
think
did,
nobody in
because
like
find me any of these people, and I want to see how much they were tweeting about the fact that Donald Trump refused to debate any of the other primary challengers.
Well, that's again where my issue comes in, where they weren't active online. They just had an opinion, and they, so that's
I mean, if it's
where,
not showing up anywhere in the media anywhere, then I mean.
Well, that's I agree with you there, where they need to make their voice heard, and they need to actively be active online, but
Or anywhere. It doesn't have to be online. It could be in the media. It could be a politician.
Well, exactly. Yeah, but
why can't you? But you know why you can't do that, though, right? It's because the Trumples will destroy you.
I don't. Well, yeah, they'll try. Yeah, I agree with that. I couldn't say that they'll destroy you, because a lot of them are delusional. So,
Well, I mean, that you won't have a political career anymore. You'll be gone, right? Trump will primary you. You'll get kicked out of office. Like nobody will want to vote for you. And
especially if you're a politician. Yeah.
yeah, like there are no the never Trump Republicans are just retirees.
Yes.
now.
Yeah. Agreed. A lot of the people that I know still think that he won the 2020 election, which I don't quite understand. But
Sure.
so I guess
That's like fucking insane, right?
yes. No, I agree, 100%. But that's
But like you're just like casually dropping what would be the most unbelievable conspiracy in the history of all of in the history of all of governments across the planet for all of time.
I agree.
That election was rigged.
Yeah, but there's also the people on the left that I've also seen in my Facebook, groups, or even just Facebook friends that I have, that are just now saying that the 2024 election must have been rigged, because there's no way Trump should have won.
Yeah, but do you know who's not saying that? Kamala Harris.
I
or
agree.
Any Democratic leadership.
No, I agree.
And you know who is saying it on the right side? Donald Trump.
I know, I agree.
So it's not. Yeah, it's like a different world, and every single right.
So this is where Destiny just ramps up the pressure, and the MAGA voter just starts folding hard. Destiny drops the cleanest gut check of the night. There's no difference between a reluctant Trump voter and a loyal one. And the guy literally stutters out, "I don't know about that," like he already knows he's cooked. Then Destiny just goes off, laying out a brutal list of Trump's absurdities. Appointing anti-vaxxers? Check. Deporting people without due process? Yep. Tariffs on Penguin Island? Like, alright, that one's just hilarious. But it just shows how chaotic Trump's record really is. And Destiny's right. How do you reluctantly vote for someone that unhinged? The guest even tries to pivot to Kamala Harris and this weak argument about her not going through a consensus primary, but Destiny just instantly calls that bluff. Like, where were all these concerned voters when Trump skipped debates, crushed his challengers, and rewrote the party around himself? Silence, because the truth is, there was no outcry. MAGA voters just went along with it.
I don't know if I think there was one cabinet person who acknowledged that question and said that Donald Trump had lost the 2020 election,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think everybody else talked around it. Wouldn't
They
even
did,
answer
yeah,
that.
including JD Vance.
That's kind of crazy that the world's leadership in democracy currently has a president that doesn't believe in the outcome of the last election he lost.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's a big problem too that I would say most MAGA Republicans are the same way. But I do have another question that's like not relating to any of this. I wanted to know your opinion on, and I think I know it, but your opinion on the deportation of what's his name, Kilmar, I believe.
I haven't dug as much into the legal stuff on that. I think ideologically I'm opposed to it. I think legally I'm opposed to it. But it gets into weird kind of like foreign policy territory, or how much do you want to dig into that?
I was digging through the legal process of everything that was going on with him, so I could just go very briefly into it.
So I guess a quick thing. The reason why I have an issue with it is traditionally prior to maybe Al Qaeda, I guess, when we talk of like terrorist organizations, you think of these like small groups that are non-state actors typically. It starts to get really weird when a terrorist organization also happens to be like the government or administrator to a region. Now for ISIS, it was kind of different because they took over parts of countries that were still controlled by other people. But like, would you say like the Taliban, would you consider that like a terrorist group? I actually don't know if the U.S. is. I don't think they do. But like, but we would think of them as kind of a terrorist group.
Yeah.
but it's also like they're the government in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
And so like,
Or
let's say that
Hamas.
you want to protest, and you want to support for Hamas. I mean, like, Hamas is the government of the Gaza Strip. So are we basically just saying for every single person here with a green card or a visa, you can no longer protest on support of or on behalf of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip because it's related to Hamas, which is a foreign terrorist
Well, you're
organization?
thinking of Khalil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what did you say?
I was talking about Kilmar.
Oh,
Sorry,
fuck.
not
Kilmar,
Kilmar.
wait, is Kilmar Abrego Garcia?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
my bad. I thought you said
No,
Khalil.
no, you're okay. Yeah, they're. Yeah.
Oh, for the Abrego Garcia one, yeah,
Yes.
that seems like it was really bad. I'm opposed to that, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what because he was here with I believe he was charged in 2019, and then he was allowed to stay, and then without due process, which is my biggest issue, was he was just shipped off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll have to pull out my phone for 1 second because I
Okay.
have all of them written down.
I'm just kind of curious because we went over a few things that seem to be deeply troubling to me. I would say like
Of
any
course.
one of these things are an insanely troubling thing. You said you voted for Trump. I'm guessing this last election.
Yes.
What would you have possibly been afraid of from Kamala that you think like supersedes any of the stuff or the totality of the stuff that's happened so far with Trump?
Well, honestly, to me, my biggest reason for not voting for Kamala was to the exact reason that I stated earlier, and that I heard a lot of these.
Wait, what was the exact reason earlier?
The exact reason was that there was no primary for her, and the whole reason I did.
Wait, why
vote-
would that have to do with whether or not you thought she would have been a better candidate for
Because
Trump?
it wasn't really that. It was more so the fact that I heard a lot of what are the problems, or I guess not problems, worries about Joe Biden from the right when he was running, that he would, ban guns, or about like a lot of crazy things. And then I heard a lot of crazy things about Donald Trump, and I just put them up against each other, and I'm like, well, these things could come true, or we might do okay.
So Destiny just pushes the voter past excuses and straight into the absurd. The guy literally says a lot of people I know still think Trump won the 2020 election. Like that's just some quirky fun fact. And Destiny hits him with the exact level of disbelief it deserves. That's insane, right? No hesitation. And the voter agrees. He says yes multiple times, but then just immediately pivots to, well, people on the left think that the 2024 election was rigged too. That's when Destiny just calmly slices it down. Kamala Harris isn't saying that. Democratic leadership isn't saying that. The only person pushing the conspiracy is, you guessed it, Trump himself. The false equivalence just dies right there. And Destiny drives the bigger point home. Trump has completely purged the party of dissent. If you're a Republican who opposes him, you're just gone. You'll be primaried, cancelled by the base, and written out. The MAGA voter agrees again, and it's wild watching someone admit on camera that the guy they supported has turned his party into a loyalty test, and they voted for him anyway.
Okay, but
So-
I'm like curious. If you look at the record, so Trump banned bump stocks.
Yeah.
Biden didn't take our guns.
Yes. Oh,
So I feel like that's 1 point for Biden.
Yes.
What was another issue that we were worried about between Biden and Trump? Biden got the infrastructure bill passed. Trump wanted to do that and wasn't able to. Foreign policy wise, I mean, we were involved arguably with less stuff. There was the Ukraine stuff and there was the Gaza stuff. But we exited Afghanistan, even if it was sloppy. We exited Afghanistan. We weren't involved in the Yemen stuff anymore. We weren't involved in anything in Syria, basically. I'm just curious, like, what was the thing? If you look at the 4 years of each, where do we give Trump points on? Where we're like, oh, I would rather have 4 more years of Trump than 4 more years of a Biden-esque.
Well, because I think I was going to say that's kind of a hard question. It's not really, because a lot of things that people give Trump credit for, he kind of walked into from the previous administration. So that's where I'm like, I can't really give him the credit for those things, that because Obama should be given credit for those things. So, you know, at the same time, people that said the same thing about Biden, which I don't really agree on. So again, that's where me casting a last minute vote, because that's basically what it was. I was just a very undecided voter. I would like to have a third party in, but again,
I'm still trying to figure out what was it about Trump where you're like, this guy's going to be the better one than Kamala. Like, on what one issue?
It wasn't really that. It was more so just that I weighed the negatives of both, and I'm like, I don't know what could be correct.
What were
And
the
I think,
negatives that you weighed for Kamala?
well, again, the unrealized capital gains, which you said again, which I agree
Would
with
never
you.
happen, right?
No, I agree with you. That would never happen.
Okay.
But that's where there were things with Trump where I did not at all anticipate that he would have this gigantic MAGA base behind him. I thought, okay, well, there's got to be someone who will hold him accountable. Where
Didn't he literally say that though coming in? Wasn't he saying, like, we saw J.D. Vance saying he would have supported him on January 20th. He would have voted for him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We saw that he was trying to find people who were loyalists to him the whole time. You saw him try to fire everybody in the final weeks of his presidency last time.
Mm-hmm.
Did we just expect that he was going to fail at everything again, I guess?
I guess fail at that, yes. Not fail at everything, but fail at bringing all loyalists in, and maybe it would be a little evened off. Was at least my hope. Yeah, but that obviously
It
did
just
not
seems
happen.
crazy to me that, like, we could have either voted for Kamala, and our biggest worry was an unrealized capital gains tax, which probably would have never happened. And I'm just making an assumption here, but I'm guessing you don't have hundreds of millions of dollars in unrealized
Oh
capital
no, not
gains.
at all. It was just
Okay.
no.
So
I
it's
would
not even
love that.
okay.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then for Donald Trump, it was like there's the potential for all of this absolutely horrible, atrocious stuff to happen, but I don't think he'll pick the right people to make that happen. Like, I feel like if I was just looking at both of these candidates without knowing anything about America or elections or whatever, and somebody's like, well, on this side, you got a candidate who might do maybe a bad thing, but probably not. And then this other guy, he could actually be Hitler 2.0, but he probably won't be because you'll have people around him that'll stop him from doing that. This seems like an easy choice. So I'm trying to figure out what is driving us away from one or towards the other.
It's mainly just, I guess, the driving factor was just the hope behind it. So just the hope
for
of that
what?
that wouldn't happen.
And by the end of this debate, Destiny's not even arguing anymore. He's just laying out facts while the MAGA voter basically admits to blind hope. This guy goes from, I thought someone would hold Trump accountable, to, I just hope the bad stuff won't happen. Like, that's it. That's the entire defense he has for voting Trump over Kamala Harris. Not policy, not leadership, just vibes and fear of phantom tax plans. Destiny compares the records. Bump stocks, guns, infrastructure, foreign policy, and none of it holds up in Trump's favor. Even the guest had to admit that the wins under Trump were just holdovers from Obama. And Destiny's like, so you worry with Kamala was an unrealized capital gains tax you'd never pay? But your choice was the guy who tried to fire his entire cabinet to install loyalists? That's not a decision. That's just delusion. And when the best this voter can offer is, I hope he wouldn't pull it off, you already know the debate was over. When you're voting on hope and ignoring everything else, that's not just principle, that's just bias dressed as doubt. And speaking of bias, are you getting tired of getting news from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite? how are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, whether it's left, right, or center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get a 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights in media bias and political trends. So stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.